The ongoing legal dispute involving Mizkif has taken another turn after Asmongold shared what he says is one of the biggest consequences of being sued. During a recent stream, Asmongold claimed that before the lawsuit was filed, he had publicly said he would pay the legal fees for anyone else who wanted to come forward with allegations against Mizkif. Asmongold finally speaks out against Mizkif in the following clip.
I never said that. I mean, to be fair, he was accused of his ex-girlfriend by like something like that, right? I don't know what it was specifically, but I mean, he has had other accusations. And I want to also make one thing very, very clear. This is a very, very big thing. And this is kind of the worst thing about getting sued by Miz, is that whenever this originally came out, I said that if anybody else that had stories about Miz wanted to speak out against him, I would pay for their legal fees. And this is something that I had wanted to do. There were people that reached out to me, and I was in the process of doing that. But because of the lawsuit that Mizkif filed on me, I was not able to help them. So there were, and it was more than, I'm not going to say how many, right? It was more than one. So, and both of these people were, I don't really want to get into specifics, right? But both of these people were creators. Now you can now. The reason I'm not going to be specific about it is for their respect, because I'm not going to, like, it's not my responsibility to say this stuff, right? And so that's it. And so yeah, you're gonna do it now. Well, I don't know about that, right? And it's their story. Yeah, sure. And you can help them now, though. Yeah, I theoretically can, but I think that's the reason. I think that's one of the big reasons why he sued me personally. Like, this is my assumption, is that he sued me so nobody else, and he did this to create a chilling effect in the community in order to shut down conversation about him that was negative or accusing him of bad behavior. I think that's exactly what he did. And he filed the lawsuit against me to not only, shut down me assisting others.
The comments quickly became divided, with many questioning Asmongold's claims. Some users argued that Asmongold has made similar statements in the past about other creators, claiming those allegations never materialized. Others questioned the idea that there are additional people waiting to come forward, asking why no legal action or public evidence has emerged, if those claims are legitimate. Several commenters also criticized the idea of offering to fund legal action against Mizkif, arguing that it could create the appearance of encouraging or coordinating accusations, rather than simply supporting people who independently wanted to speak out. Others went even further, claiming Asmongold has repeatedly referenced unnamed individuals with stories to tell, but has never substantiated those claims, saying they viewed the comments as an attempt to damage Mizkif's reputation without presenting concrete evidence. Overall, the reaction was largely skeptical, with much of the discussion centering on whether Asmongold's claims about additional people should be taken seriously without further evidence becoming public. NMP has shared his thoughts on what he believes happened to the old Poggers era of Twitch, arguing that the community ultimately lost momentum while the so-called W community continued to grow. Speaking on stream, NMP reflected on how many of the biggest creators from that era have become caught up in lawsuits, accusations, personal drama, and other controversies, instead of simply focusing on making entertaining content.
You know, this isn't really a Poggers versus WCOM. I mean, we've already lost, if you want to be honest with you. We're all fading away. We're all dying, getting older. You know, the only one saving the day is Lud, because, you know, he went to Streamer U and showed everyone what a good Poggers guy can do. The rest of us in the Poggers, we pretty much self-exploded. You know, lawsuits left and right, you know, accusations left and right, you know, just bullshit left and right. We pretty much self-imploded. All we really had to do was go live, not be, you know, stupid, make people laugh, and it would have been pretty easy to succeed. But because of emotions and jealousy and bullshit, tomfoolery, you know, cocksickery, you know, it's just completely kind of exploded. And I do think for a while there, like, things were the best for the Poggers community when XQC was around, man. You know, even though we didn't really do too much stuff, it was all kind of like this same big old bubble, and we all kind of just orbited it. You know, XQC's bubble. If you even remember, they had that big Twitch chart thing with like the little circle and all those little balls, like an outer space thing. He was always in the middle of everyone, and it was just, that's when the community was kind of the tightest. But then it kind of faded out, and then all of a sudden these other people came in, and all those other people came in, and then now everything feels kind of like spread apart. And a lot of the Poggers community, like, a lot of them are tired. It's kind of hard to get them moving. You know, I can't even get E-Rod to move to save his life, but Russell did go over there and say some shit, so that just feels good, man. You know, but it's not too late, bro. We can bring it back at the same time. You know, at the same time, we can bring it back. Maybe I got to reach out to some folk. You know, last time we were in LA, like, Ray reached out to Catchy. You know, I reached out to Hasan, and we did some stuff with Hasan. You know, And who else reached out? Blau reached out as well. So maybe we can do some more stuff.
The discussion quickly expanded beyond NMP's comments, with many people offering their own explanations for why the streaming landscape changed. Some argued that the Poggers community hurt itself by refusing to embrace the rise of newer creators. They claim many established streamers initially tried to distance themselves from the W community, before eventually collaborating only after its growth became impossible to ignore. Others echoed that sentiment more bluntly, saying the old guard spent too much time gatekeeping, while assuming the W community was just a passing trend. According to those commenters, collaborations only became common once the newer scene had already established itself. Meanwhile, others believed the real issue had nothing to do with community rivalries at all. They argued that gaming-focused creators have generally avoided major controversies because they stayed focused on their content, whereas many IRL streamers became consumed by personal drama. Some even suggested the shift toward IRL streaming brought far more controversy than entertainment. Overall, the discussion was split between those who blamed gatekeeping and resistance to change, and those who felt the downfall came from creators becoming distracted by drama instead of simply making content. The long-running feud between Destiny and Hasan has sparked another round of discussion after Destiny weighed in on a hypothetical legal scenario involving Twitch. During a recent stream, Destiny was discussing platform liability and whether websites can sometimes share legal responsibility for content hosted on their services. As part of that broader conversation, he used a hypothetical example involving Hasan, suggesting that if a lawsuit were ever brought over content on Twitch, there could be an argument for Twitch itself to be included as a co-defendant, depending on the circumstances.
So, like, if I were to sue Hasan for defamatory speech, I should be able to sue Twitch as well. I think they should be a defendant on that, because in my mind, if they've obviously been fairly selective about who they allow on the platform, and then the CEO makes his preferences known as well. So how is that not seen as an endorsement of the speech from the platform? I think it's strange to say that you hide behind the nebulous cloud of 230 to say, well, we're not choosing, what speech to platform. These are just all content created things. And it's like, well, very clearly it seems to be there's some kind of preference given for some speech over another. So how do you have no liability for the type of speech that's being hosted? Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think Destiny has a case, to be clear, but I don't know if...
Several users pointed out that the clip lacked important context, explaining that Destiny had been discussing hypothetical questions about free speech, website liability, and legal protections, rather than announcing or predicting an actual lawsuit. Others agreed, saying that without watching the surrounding conversation, the clip could easily give viewers the wrong impression. The thread also attracted viewers unfamiliar with the ongoing Destiny and Hasan rivalry, with some asking for the background behind the two creators' years-long feud. In response, other Reddit users summarized the history between them, explaining that the pair were once politically aligned before falling out, leading to years of public disagreements and personal attacks. How Sodapoppin got WC3.
My dad got Warcraft 3, Dustin and I got Wolfenstein. Me being the younger brother, we drive home, my brother plays Wolfenstein, I'm not allowed to play. I'm the younger brother, I'm just watching. So you know what, I'll go play the random game my dad got, right?
Oh my gosh.
And I just gave it a try. And then my brother was like, hey Chance, I'm going to my friend's house, you can play Wolfenstein now if you want. I did not get off Warcraft at that point, I stayed on.
W.
So that's...
W. All right, sick.
Direction of my life was decided right there by that.